So looking at your mobility, your trunk rotation, it's a little tight. So that means as your hips are opening, you're gonna have a hard time keeping your shoulders closed. Your hip abduction's tight, so you're gonna have a hard time moving lateral long enough to build momentum, so you're gonna wanna rotate early. Your ankles are not too bad. Your hip internal rotation's fine. Your trunk flexion, your hip flexion going forward, taking your trunk over your front leg is a little tight. Hip extension is a little tight, so that's gonna affect how you're opening your hips or how well you can open your hips in a full stride. So we do have some mobility challenges. Overall strength, like your upper body strength is a little weak. Total body strength is a little weak. Your verts are average, so not too bad with that. So let's see how well you move. So coming out of leg lift, okay? You don't really sit into the back leg that well. You just kind of start falling forward. So we really want to get more loading and flexion, lowering our center of mass. It's going to put more flexion in the lower half, allow us to create more extension power, more ground force. So we definitely could sit in our back leg a little better. And then from here, you can see you're hitting that end of range. You can see this leg is even extending out more. This one's tightening up more. So could have some like groin weakness, causing you to tighten your groin a little bit more. And then when you open, not getting any power here, you're even leaving the foot down. So you're landing with closed hips, which means you're not gonna have time to really power hip rotation. So it's gonna really affect velocity. So let's see the kinematic sequence. So this is how things are accelerating. Like the red is the hip rotation, the green is the trunk rotation. And then this graph, this is time, this is degrees per second. So if something's going fast, it's going up and down. And you can see slow little humps here. So you hit right here, even before your peak of your hip, and then your hip peak comes around to about here, and then your trunk peak is not that much after. So there is some separation, but really not that much, and definitely not a lot of energy pushing through it, okay? I think at the end of the day, if we can just push more energy through it, we're gonna start separating it better, and you're gonna see more velocity coming up. Definitely another indication not a lot of energy is as your trunk comes around, your arm's wanting to already instantly rotate and release. So there isn't really acceleration energy. There's not even a lot of linear energy. Like if we can go, we have this linear kinematic sequence. You can see, so this is how things are accelerating forward as opposed to in rotation. And you can see like hip peak forward is right here before it even opens. Trunk peak forward is right here before it opens. So that by the time your trunk is opening, there's no forward momentum. That's why your arm's trying to go ahead and overcompensate for that forward momentum. That's why at release, everything is straight up and down. So there's just not a lot of energy going forward. So to the point where when you rotate, everything's just stopping. So the reason things are up straight up and down is because it all stopped too early. If we're getting to get it all going forward like an elite pitcher, like a high velocity pitcher would have like a 45-degree forward trunk position. You're at 1 degree, they'd be 45 degrees, okay? So it's when you got here, it's getting into your leg, and as you open, peaking forces where your foot isn't still down. That's where it's like a sprinter. We've got to be taking off and accelerating, and then that energy should deliver and push through our body. So when we see the trunk going forward, as the arm's laying back, now we know more energy is now being pushed up from the ground. So like all the king of the hill stuff is going to be important. You know, lowering your center mass, working in full strides, a lot of things we're going to take you through is going to help you push more energy through it. As far as your release, I mean, your release points is pretty high. So everything's coming over the top. I mean, you have some slightly poor spin efficiency. Could be, even though your forearm's coming up, you could still be staying on the side of the ball because you're not getting all that forward trunk, which helps pronate earlier. So more than likely, as you get more forward trunk, you're gonna get more pronation at release, and then you're gonna see a lot of this even get better, like your spin efficiency get better, your spin rate go up, therefore your vertical break goes up. So I think good set of movements, like you're sequencing things, it's just not dynamic, it's not explosive. So we've got to start putting our body in the right positions and putting the energy through the body to get the dynamic movements, and then your velos will go up and your spin will just keep getting better. So